Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Book Talk with Kara. I am so excited to welcome you back as we talk about books and authors and all things related to books. And today I'm delighted to introduce you to Patricia Johns, who's been writing Amish fiction for a number of years now for Harlequin. But today we are going to talk about her first full-length trade novel. And that's such an exciting time because it's a big transition to go from the Harlequin length, love-inspired Amish novels, which those are great and they're so much fun to write. But there's a lot more that goes into a full-length novel, like the ones that you're writing now with Bethany. So tell us about a little bit about yourself, Patricia, and then we will dive into all things related to your new book.
Okay. I write Amish romance for Harlequin. So I write for Love Inspired and also for their heartwarming line. And I also have a contract now with Bethany House, which is very exciting for this new miniseries. So I believe this miniseries is called The Amish of Shepherd's Hill. I think I'm terrible with remembering the actual names of my miniseries. Anyway, I live in Canada. I'm married. I've got a 16-year-old son and a parrot who has been put in another room, covered with a blanket and the door shut.
I love that. Because the parrot would want to be part of this, wouldn't they?
Very much. He would be a pickle, was what we call him. He's just a little pickle. He's noisy and he wants to be in the middle of things. And so he had to be put down for a nap.
I love
for
that.
a little while.
So I want to start a little bit because I'm always intrigued by how people, decided that they wanted to be a writer. And you're from Canada. Are there a lot of Amish in Canada? Because I don't think Amish in Canada, and that could just be a lack of knowledge on my part. How did you kind of find your way into that genre?
Okay, well, in Canada, we don't have Amish. We do have Old Order Mennonite, which is similar,
Okay. Mhm.
but um, some of their setup is different. I'm not an expert on how it's different. I've done a lot of research on the Amish and
Yes.
not as much on Old Order Mennonite. But growing up, I used to visit my aunt and we would visit a place called St. Jacob's together. And that's an Old Order Mennonite community where they have, stores and things where you can visit and there see how they live. They live very similarly to the Amish. So my dad's side of the family is Mennonites. There was a lot of deep respect for the Old Order Mennonite and for the Amish from my dad's side of the family. I my radar wasn't really up for Amish romance. My editor had mentioned it to me, and how sometimes things feel a little too familiar.
Mhm.
I felt like, oh, well, would that really be fun to research? It felt a little too familiar to family history and things like that. And I know that sounds silly. I should have jumped on that right away, considering it was something that was sort of connected to the family ties in that way. But I didn't. I thought it wouldn't be as fun to research. So I wrote other types. I wrote cowboy romance a lot. That was fun. And then I thought, you know what? I've been silly. I need to give this a try. And so I actually wrote a book for Kensington, which was full length trade. And I started with Kensington and then talked to Harlequin and said, hey, what if
Yeah.
I didn't do cowboys? Because once you start in a certain lane with a publisher, they kind of want you to stay in that lane. But
Yeah.
because I had dipped my toes in the water with Kensington, Harlequin said, all right, let's give this a try. So yeah, sort of a long, convoluted writerly answer of
Yeah.
how I got there. I wish it was shorter and more pithy, but it's not. So
I love
yeah.
that though. Well, and that's where everybody's journey is a little unique and different. And that's what makes it kind of fun is to see how people got there. Because that's the part about Canada and Amish. I was like, well, maybe because there's
Yeah.
Amish in Florida. And like, I didn't realize that because I'm from the Midwest. So I always think
Yeah.
Ohio and Pennsylvania and even Indiana has a lot of Amish.
Yeah.
And then, you get the different, the old Mennonite, the old, German Baptist and different
Yeah.
threads like that. But I was like, I just
Yeah.
don't think that in Canada. So tell us about this book that's getting ready to come out, this
Okay.
first full-length trade since Kensington. Lexington,
Hmm.
because the setup for this book is so interesting to me because the heroine has, she grew up Amish, she went on Rumspringa, she got married, she's now divorced, she wants to be a veterinarian, and she's come back. And I'm like,
Yes.
that's not your typical setup for a heroine. It's like kind of very countercultural for
Yes.
an Amish community. So, how did you kind of come up with that framing for her?
Well, I I liked the idea of looking at women who are in an imperfect world trying to live a good, God pleasing life. And I think that's something we can all relate to. Like the world around us is not perfect. Our situations are not perfect. We all wish we had the perfect setup, but we don't have it. And so for her, I wanted to be able to give her an interesting career that would not be the typical feminine role. And so she comes back highly educated
Yeah.
and she is a veterinarian and she's very good at her job. She's a really good veterinarian. And it makes her different. She's on the outside of the community because number one, she left and then she returned. She came back divorced, and the women there simply don't understand that life experience.
Yeah.
And so she feels very much on the outside of things, except for with her sisters. Her sisters understand her. So that was something that I wanted to look at. I wanted to be able to have her have achieved a lot of the things that she dreamed of that were possible outside of her community. But those very things hold her back from having a real honest connection with the people inside of her community. So it makes her experience a little bit more unique.
Yeah. Well, and that's, as I was thinking about it, I'm like, that's exactly what you had set up was this, here's someone who's highly successful on the outside. And now she's come back. And it was like everything that made her successful is now going to be a barrier to finding
Yes.
community back where she has or should have the most community. And I think a
Yes.
lot of us can relate to that. The things that make us the most who we are can sometimes be those things that create the most separation
Yeah.
with the people that we love the most or we should have the most connection with because of background or history or whatever. And
Yeah.
now those have become the barriers between us. So tell us about, is this, Amish romance can, or Amish can go lots of ways. It can be
Yeah.
romance, it can be women's fiction, it can be sometimes there's suspense in it. Where does this one kind of fit? Because it's,
Well,
first of all,
it's a
you
little,
haven't told
it's,
us the title yet. So people have to know
oh,
the title.
the book is called Green Pastures. Um, the next book in the series will be Still Waters, and the last book is Through the Valley. So, Green Pastures, I'm trying to, oh, what did you ask me again?
So what kind of genre
Oh, the
inside
genre.
Amish?
It is mostly, well, it's a good mix between women's fiction and romance. So, but the romance in the book is not Tabitha's. Tabitha is the returning veterinarian. Um, she has more of a women's fiction story with her in this book. Her sister Amanda, who was left behind when her sister left, and whenever her sister popped back into the picture to visit, um, it would blow up Amanda's life all over again. So Amanda never did get to
Yeah.
get married, and she wanted to get married. So Amanda decides to take matters into her own hands. Her sister is back, and she's tired of sitting around and waiting for a man to come calling when it just doesn't seem to be happening for her. So she decides to get creative and find herself a man. So that is the romantic story between her, and she chooses the least eligible man in the community, um, who happens to be looking for a wife, and she thinks, I think I think there's a possibility here, and this horrifies everybody around her, and it kicks off a fun romantic story on how things are going to work between them. I have another thread for the third sister as well in this book, and that's for the youngest sister Rose, who was pretty, and she wasn't really held back getting married. She was able to find a nice guy and fall in love and get married. but marriage has turned out to be a lot more difficult than she anticipated. So the three sisters together are navigating life, trying to live a good life, a God-pleasing life. And they have to decide how much they're willing to sacrifice to live by their Amish vows, because an Amish life is different than a mainstream Christian life would be. There's a lot more things holding them back, I would say.
Yeah. No, that sounds really rich. And I love all these different threads and the way that the sisters then are trying to navigate that, and lots of opportunity for conflict and coming together. So, and that's fun. And because it's that longer novel, you can do that. You can have all these different
Yes.
layers weaving together, which as an
Yeah.
author is so much fun. And that's what I loved when I got to go from the smaller books to those longer length novels. You get to do that. It's like you get to play with the kind of tapestry of how it all
Yeah,
can weave together, which is fun. So
definitely.
when you think about that, what's one of the things that as you were working on this book that most surprised you? Was it one of the characters that kind of took off? Was it something you were researching? But what's something that as you were kind of working on Green Pastures, you were like, oh, I didn't expect that. And it kind of added to the book.
Um, oh, I have to think. I think going into Rose's story with her marriage, I knew what I wanted to do with the story. I'm a big planner when I write, so I knew where each of the sisters were going with the story. Um, but for Rose's, the ending of Rose's thread in this story, I didn't see how I was going to end it. And now I can't tell you what I did differently
Yeah,
because it'll ruin the
no,
book. But I
but
didn't
that's,
end it the same way that I thought I would. And just going through her situation where getting married is not necessarily just the happily ever after and the work is done. It's just the beginning. It's a
yeah,
marriage, and there is no out. Especially for the Amish, you have to sit down and work through it. And so I found actually writing Rose's experience with marriage, I I I went deeper into that than I thought that I was going to. I thought I was going to make it more of a lighter, just easily resolved thread, and I didn't. So,
yeah.
but I think it made a much better book having gone deeper into it.
Absolutely. And that it's going to feel more real and
Yes.
probably resonate with readers a whole lot more because it is.
I think it's more about the realism of marriage. Marriage
Yeah.
is wonderful. I'm very happily married, coming up on our 20th anniversary, so I'm very very happily married. But marriage takes work, right? And you think, oh well, he'll understand this, and he doesn't. And you don't understand things that he thinks you're going to, and um, it's a constant growth together, and choosing to grow together instead of pushing apart.
Yeah,
It takes practice, right?
it
And
does.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so that's what I looked at. Like, I was looking at like the reality of marriage, which is it's wonderful, it's worth it, it's deep, it's a beautiful beautiful thing. I think it's holy, um but it takes work, and I think
Yeah.
anything worth having takes hard work. So
Yeah. And we don't always talk about that enough. We're coming up on our
yeah.
29th anniversary this month, and which sometimes I'm like, holy cow, how did that happen? But
Yeah,
at the
it's a
same time,
blink.
I'm like, we don't talk, we often, especially even as a novel writer, we often stop at the engagement
Mhm.
or at the wedding. We don't always get to write about, okay, but what happens after? And so when you
Yeah.
do, that can be a beautiful thing. It's hard, but it can be a really
Yeah.
beautiful thing and really a gift to people to be like, okay, but let's look at what can
Yeah.
happen and what can be on the other side of that. So when you think about your writing journey and everything, if you could go back in time, because you've been writing for a while, what book is this?
um I think I'm somewhere. I think this is this. If you count now, okay, Harlequin counts novellas that I've
Yeah.
published with them, as well as my full length novels. And so
Oh,
I recently
absolutely. They all
published
count.
my 50th with them, plus other books
Wow.
for other publishers. So if I included the if I included the novellas, this would be my 60th.
That's
So
amazing.
if you don't include them, it's 56. So depending on
Oh,
where you want to land on that.
the novellas count for me. I'm
Okay.
like,
Okay.
I turned in book 43, so hats off to you.
Oh,
Um,
very nice though.
yeah. And I'm like, I literally today was sitting there because I need to be working on my next proposal. And I was sitting there going, okay, God, I know I want to keep writing, but I have no idea what that next series is going to be. And I hate that part. I'm like, can I just write? Can I just write? And it's that
Yeah.
proposal part that was like, ugh.
Yeah.
So I know you get
Proposals are
it.
hard.
Oh my gosh, I
They're
hate
so
proposals.
hard.
Ugh, I hate them so much. But if you could go back 60 books ago to when you
Mhm.
were waiting for that first contract or that second contract, what would you tell someone who's in that position? What would you go back and tell your younger self?
Um, I think I would just reassure my younger self that I would make it.
Yeah,
I would cheat the system just so little. Don't worry, you're going to make it. Um,
yeah,
because it's not knowing how it's going to go. That's really hard when you're starting out. You don't know.
yeah,
Will I ever get published? Will they take it? Will anybody see value in what I'm doing? Yeah. So I think I would go back and tell myself it's okay. I think, it's going to work out. Just keep working at it. But at the same time, not knowing, I think probably added a little fire under me to make me work a little harder because you're like, I have to give this my absolute all. So I've always wanted to be a writer, even as a little kid. I wanted to write books and be a writer. So um, that's something that was always inside of me that I definitely wanted to do. Like even if I didn't get published, I was going to be writing.
yeah,
I joke with people. I say my brain is like a puppy. If I don't give it something to chew on, it will find something and I might not like what it finds. So if
you might
I'm
as well
not,
direct it.
yes, if I'm not working on a book, my creativity will come out in other ways and I might not like what that does to my life. So it's better to make up fictional stories than mess with a perfectly well aligned life that I've got going on. So,
I love that.
so that's I don't I think if I were to tell other authors like who writers who really want
Yeah,
to get published, the advice that I would give them is don't give up because
yeah,
you haven't lost until you quit. Even if you
mhm,
get rejected, even if you're putting stuff out there and nobody is seeing the value in it yet, you haven't actually lost at this game because you're still putting stuff out there. So I would say don't quit. You never know how close you are to a yes either. I think
yeah,
there are there are people who might be very close to a yes who give up and their next book might have been where the editors go, there we go, I can work with this, and they give you your shot because the editors want a book. It's that's their career ambition is to get a really good book and put it out there, so they're looking for books to publish. So I think that's what I
yeah.
would tell people is just don't give up. I
I love
think
that.
it's easy to say, oh, never mind, this is never going to happen. What are the odds? Oh my goodness, never look at the odds.
Yeah.
It's depressing. Forget the odds. Just don't give up. That's my advice.
Well, and I think that's such good advice because I think there are so many times when we're like, oh, this is it. And we quit pushing
Yeah.
or quit knocking right before the yes. And we assume
Yeah.
a no instead of going, but what if? And
Yeah.
so
Because
there's
why
so
not
much wisdom
you?
in that.
Right? Why not
Exactly.
you?
Yeah.
Why shouldn't your story be there? I mean, I look at my books and I'm proud of them and I've worked hard on them and I really think they're good. So
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. But what makes me better than somebody else? Um, I'm not,
Yeah.
right?
I
I
know.
mean,
I feel the same way. Yeah.
yeah, like there's a readership that really loves what I put out and I love them. My readers are the best. They love this type of story that I write and they're just terrific. But there's a readership for somebody else's type of story too, and they're going to have a group of readers who are like, oh, your stories, they are just they resonate with me. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I would encourage people, just don't give up. Like there's a readership waiting for your book. You just you can't give up too soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. That's such encouraging and true advice and wisdom. I love it. So when you're writing, what's your biggest challenge? Is it the getting started? Is it the outlining? Is it the coming up
It's
with
the internet.
proposals? Is
Honestly, it's
it
the internet.
is it the internet in getting it to be stable, or is it the internet in
Oh no,
rabbit
isn't it
trails?
distracts me. It
Yeah.
distracts me. It's just I have the internet in front of me. I My writing hours are during the day, just by necessity. My family's out during the day. So
Yeah.
this is when I write. So I write full time and I'm doing it during the day. And the the internet is just always there, and I love interacting with my readers. And so I like I'll chat with them on Facebook and I'll post stuff and I'm answering their comments and I have a lot of fun with my readers. They're great. Um, so I find that, yeah, that's probably my biggest distraction. And then I discovered Wordscapes on my phone because my son was playing it, and I'm like, oh, I need to take that thing off my phone. So don't worry, I get the work done. I get it done because I am a professional.
Yeah.
But I think my biggest challenge, yeah, is the distraction of the internet for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
There's so much we can be doing. And I always have to tell myself, I'm the only one who can write the words. I'm the
Yes.
only one who can
Yep.
write the words.
Absolutely. And I am like I think any reputable author is like no to AI. So people say, "Oh, well you could have a shortcut." No. No, I
Yeah.
cannot have a shortcut because that would not be my book. It would not be my words. It would not be my thought. And I think every author knows when you're writing, no matter how well you plan it, things develop as you write in your mind, in your heart. Things come together in the process of writing
Yeah.
that if something else provided those words, those things would not come together. And
Yeah.
it would be shallow, and it would yeah, it would not have the quality. So yeah, nobody else can write the words. It has to be the author sitting down, turning off Facebook,
Yeah.
getting to work.
Fingers on the keyboard, butt in the chair,
Exactly. Exactly. So,
or walking on the treadmill like I've been doing the last week and a half. And
do you write and walk on the treadmill?
I just got a treadmill for my
A
desk and
treadmill
I am
desk?
in
Oh,
love. I'm in love.
oh,
I think I need
wow.
one for the office now because I'm like, oh my gosh, I've had a standing desk at both home
Yeah.
and work for the last, oh, since the pandemic. And so I have a hard time sitting now because it feels, I get all slouchy, which is why you
Okay.
see me
Yeah.
kind of twitching because I'm in a friend's office today.
Yeah.
Um, but the treadmill, oh my gosh, that is revolutionizing how I work at
Oh,
home. And so I'm like, I think I need
nice.
one for here at my office because it's amazing. Amazing.
I read books while I walk the track
Yeah.
at the gym. So I'll
Yeah.
be, and people know me. Like my husband will say, "Oh, my wife, blah blah blah. Who's your wife? The one who reads."
Yeah.
Oh, and
Yeah.
everybody knows who I am because I
I
read
can
while I
run on the
walk.
treadmill with that, but
Oh,
I was like,
nice.
I don't know if I'll be able to like walk and stuff. Um, but like the walking treadmill only goes up to like 4 miles an hour. So I'm doing like 2.8 is really comfortable.
Okay.
And if I'm really like scrolling or, doing like basic like Facebook type stuff, I can do
Yeah.
3.2.
Oh, wow.
But 2.8 for like email, and I haven't been writing chapters yet because like I said, I've
Yeah.
got a book I need to be writing, but I'm really in that kind of exploratory mode for the
Yeah.
contract or for the proposal.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to see what pace I can do when I'm like full on writing chapters
I'm
versus
curious
editing.
to hear what pace you can do too while you do that. Yeah. So do you
Yeah,
find that that kind of sparks your creativity, having your body moving while you're
that's what I'm really kind of curious because like we had an ACFW board meeting all day Saturday. And normally I would be so twitchy because I'm like sitting that long is just, my
yeah.
body is just not used to that. And because I teach, so I'm up and moving and going, just moving around, moving buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I got 18,000 steps. And that
Wow.
was like at a 2.8 to 3.2 pace, not any kind of extravagant pace at all. I was like, I feel like
Wow.
I've been in Europe. It was great. It was amazing.
Very
So
nice.
Yeah,
Oh,
so we'll see. But
something
I'm
to
very
consider.
curious to
Yeah.
do it when I'm actually actively writing a book,
Yeah.
which will be
Yeah.
starting, I really probably tomorrow night, because I've really got to get going on this book.
Yeah.
So all the things.
Nice.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'll keep you posted because I
Definitely.
think
I'm
it'll be
curious.
interesting. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, now that we've been talking about how we write, or maybe aspire to write,
Yeah.
what brings you joy? So two last questions. What brings you joy when you're writing? Why are you still doing it 60 books later?
Well, I can't not write.
Yeah,
I'm one of those people where I always have a story in my head.
I love
I'm always
that.
coming up with a theory of some sort too. So I'll tell my friends, well, this is the novelist in me talking. So disregard, like, don't take me too seriously, but I just think, right? And then I go off on whatever the thing that I just think. So I'm always, I can't not be writing. It's like there's a little gear in my head that's always threatening to click over if I stop writing, and it keeps it from clicking over. And so I just find that, like, my sanity and my peace and my happiness and just who I am, it all holds together with what I'm writing. So I don't think I, like, my, it's my being. I
I
have
love
to
that.
write stories.
I love it. It's just part of who you are. That's so
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
All right. And now some of the sillier questions. Tea or
Okay.
coffee?
Depends on the day.
Okay. Very valid.
Yeah.
Salty or sweet?
Depends on the day.
I
I
like it.
snack a
Equal
lot.
opportunity. Yeah. No, that's great. And then it
Yeah.
sounds like you're a gym girl
Um, by necessity.
because you're in
With the
Canada.
amount that I snack.
Well, and you're in Canada. So like right
Yeah.
now, you really can't be outside.
It's not comfortable out there. Right now, actually, it's slushy outside, but it's either slushy or it's cold or it's hot or it's
Yeah.
buggy. And my husband, actually, he's the one who keeps me a little more motivated because he goes to the gym. He'll be like, come on, let's go. And I'm like, oh, fine. So we'll go together, and he exercises way harder than I do. And I just read while I walk around the track.
That's
But yeah.
awesome. Well, but that's great though, because that's why I like to, because I did teach myself to read while I was running, but even just reading, walking, because then I felt like I could maximize the time, because then
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like, okay, my husband laughs when I'm reading, walking the dog outside. He's like, seriously? And I'm like, audiobooks go so far. And then,
Yeah.
sometimes I just need my Kindle and the dog.
I yeah, I agree. It's reading while I'm walking. I find, like, what, you want me to leave me alone with my brain? That doesn't sound responsible.
And that's
I
trouble.
prefer to
That is
read.
trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, Patricia. Where can readers find you and your books?
You can find me on my website, patriciajohns.com. I'm also on Facebook. As I said, I will definitely waste time with you if you reach out to me. I'm on Instagram as well. I'm still sort of figuring out Instagram and getting my footing there, but I am there. So if you wanted to find me.
Awesome. And the book that is coming out a little bit later this spring is Green Pastures. And I just love the setup. It sounds great. Amish, romance, women's fiction, all the things, a sister story. And it was just so much fun to have you on today. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you so much.